All right, let's get ourselves started. So we're going to start seated today. So come on over to your space and let's sit up on something. So I'm going to roll up my blanket here and I'm going to sit on that. You can roll up the back of your yoga mat or again use a pillow, anything that you'd like. And find yourself in a comfortable seated position. So just take some time to find that for yourself. You may be comfortable cross-legged, one shin on top of the other, one in front of the other. You may not be. You may want to take your legs a little bit further forward for some more space. And again, feel free to elevate your seat so that you feel more comfortable seated here. And just take a moment. Once you feel your sit bones grounding you down to lengthen through your spine. And once we feel this like lift out of the waist, see if you can find a little bit more space in the belly. And then notice, is there a holding or a gripping in the belly? And see here, and I know it's challenging, if you can allow a little bit more softness in the belly. So just take a moment to notice if there's holding or gripping. And as you soften the belly, just notice the breath. Let the belly rise and fall with that beautiful inhale of fresh new breath. And that exhale releasing. Starting to settle into your body and your space. If you're comfortable, you can allow your eyes to softly close. You can always just soften the gaze and turn the gaze down if that feels better. And notice what is present in your body. And when I phrase this question, how do you feel? What are you feeling? What's happening here and now? Just notice what comes to mind. And notice how we phrase that in our bodies. We personalize it very, very often. We personalize it, not all the time, but I am tired. I am happy. I am stressed. I am tense. I am relaxed. Now, all of these are personal statements. There's nothing wrong with that. But see here for a moment if we can practice sort of detaching a little bit from personalizing what it is we're feeling in this moment. And notice the sensations as they arise. What are they? There's tingling. There is tingling. There is warmth. There is sadness. There is joy. Allowing whatever it is that comes to you. It's all welcome. But see if you can practice just depersonalizing a little bit. When we can do this, when we can explore this, we move a little bit more towards the direction of human beings instead of human doings. We can allow ourselves to experience whatever it is that we are experiencing, just be with it. Instead of this feeling that we have to do something to be a certain way. Come back to that feeling, that sensation in your belly. And again, noticing if there's holding or gripping. Seeing if you can allow a little bit more softness. Doesn't have to be about you, just invite the sensation. Softness. Space. Breath. When you're ready, allow your eyes to open, a nice soft focus for the eyes. And gently drop your chin towards your chest, allowing your head to rock from one shoulder to the other. And take your time here as you allow the head to roll around. Nice and slow and steady. Feeling whatever it is you feel. You don't have to necessarily do anything about it, just allowing it to be. Nice and slowly bring your head back up to neutral. When you're ready, you can take your time to find that. And with your hands on your legs or beside your body, find a nice inhale. Begin to lift your heart forward and gently arch your back. And as you exhale, round your back, tuck your chin to your chest. Inhale, begin to lift your heart and arch. Exhale, round. Let's take a few more of those seated cats and cows. If you notice there's a little bit more space and a little bit more desire perhaps to move around, perhaps you draw some circles with your ribs, rolling the ribs to one side, around to the back and to the other side. Again, you can stick with those cats and cows. If you want to move a little slower today, go right ahead. Always give yourself that permission. If you're rolling around, just switch directions. Good. And then nice and slowly, let's bring our spine back up to neutral. As you lengthen here, feel your sit bones. Take your left hand across to your right side. Right fingertips come behind you. Find a nice active inhale to find length in the spine, lifting up, and a soft exhale to gently rotate into your twist. Good. Now coming back to center to take the other side. Right hand comes to the left side. Left fingertips trail behind you. Nice active inhale. Find length, lifting up. This soft, gentle exhale to bring you into that twist. So the breath and the relationship with your breath can really reflect how you move in your body. Let's gently come back to center. Now from here, take your right leg and reach your right leg out to the side, just to the degree that feels comfortable for your hip. If that left leg being tucked in doesn't feel comfortable, give yourself more space. And then take your right hand to your right leg, lift your left arm up and over, find a side bend, reaching towards the right. Nice long stretch here. Soften through the shoulders, easy through the jaw. Come back to center to take the other side. So extending the left leg, tucking the right leg, or extending the right leg. Left hand comes to the left side, right arm lifts you up and over. Nice stretch for the side waist. Soften your top shoulder. Good. And then we'll ease our way back to center. Now from here, take your legs forward and just give your legs a little shake out. Take your hands behind you for support and then bend into your knees here. So taking your fingertips down to lift out of your waist, and let's just gently rock your feet from side to side, or your knees from side to side, well, feet as well. Now you can have your feet nice and wide here, almost like little windshield wipers. And you can continue to play with that. Or if you'd like, take your feet a little bit closer to your body, a little bit more narrow in that stance. And again, let your knees rock from side to side. Let's take a moment to settle through center and just see if you can hug your right knee in a little bit closer. If that left leg needs to come out for support, you can do so, just to that degree that feels comfortable. So it doesn't have to come all the way into your body, just to where it feels good or available. And then switch to the other side. So hug your left knee, gently pull it in towards your body, just to that degree that's happening today. And again, you may need to extend that right leg to kind of support that movement. Good. And then as you let that go, let your feet rest where they feel best. So maybe a little bit further away from you, or perhaps a little closer to your body, and take your fingertips behind you to lift up. Just take a moment to notice how that feels in your hips. Create a little bit more space for your spine. And then again, if it's available, knock the knees to one side and then the other. Now again, those feet can be wider. Taking windshield wipers, you're still getting the benefit of warming up through those hips. Here, we're just sort of prepping our hips a little bit more for Malasana. If you're comfortable and you want to come up into Malasana, you can lift your hips, take your hands away from you. Now this movement may be really new to your body. We don't want to feel sensations or tension in the knees, but we do want to invite variety of movement into our bodies, so they get used to moving in different shapes and positions. Good, let's just take one more breath. And then come back through to center. Lower those hips down. If they were lifted, take your legs forward and give them a little shake out. Want to move through that really nice and slowly and gently. All right, let's come up to our hands and knees. Find a tabletop position. So coming on up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And let's move through some cats and cows in this shape. So a nice inhale, lift your heart, arch your back. Exhale, round your back, tuck your chin. Inhale, lift the heart, arch the back. And exhale, round the back, tuck the chin. As I'm doing this, continue here with your cats and cows. My dog was just walking towards me, taking lots of nice stretches for her back as well. So funny moments. All right, let's come back to a nice neutral spine. And extend your right leg out to the side. So slowly lifting that right leg up and extending it nice and long to the side of your body, and plant your right foot down so the outer edge is planted down. And move through some cats and cows here. Inhale, lift the heart, arch the back. Exhale, round the back, tuck the chin. Inhale, lift the heart, arch the back. Exhale, round the back, tuck the chin. And just notice how that feels. Breathing into the whole body, allowing those shoulder blades to really move away from each other so we feel that stretch in our upper back. Good. Let's come back to a nice neutral spine. Tuck your right knee back underneath you. Take the other side. So extend the left leg out to the side. Press your foot down. The leg is really nice and long. And move through your cats and cows here. Inhale, lift the heart, arch the back. Exhale, round the back, tuck the chin. Inhale to lift. And exhale to round. Just feeling, how does your hip move in space? So we've got this lovely rotation happening through the hip joint. Good. And let's let that settle. Tuck your left knee back underneath you. From here, moving into a puppy pose. So reaching your arms forward and dropping your chest with your hips lifted up. Taking some nice deep breaths as you allow the shoulder blades to move towards each other, dropping your chest nice and heavy. Softening through your jaw. Good, and then nice and slowly, let's bring ourselves back up. Feeling free to stay in your tabletop position, hands and knees here, or you can revisit our puppy pose with your arms reaching forward, or if you'd like, lift your hips up and back into a downward facing dog. Pressing your palms down here as you lift your hips up and back. Take a nice, deep, generous bend into your knees, pressing the belly towards the thighs. And then keeping that length in your spine, experiment with lengthening your legs and stop where the legs need to stop so you can keep that length in your spine. You can have as much of a bend into your knees as you'd like, and don't worry about pressing the heels down. Just allow the heels to be nice and heavy. Lots of nice full deep breaths here. Good. Now, wherever you are, allow your knees to lift and pull yourself forward into your plank pose. So feel free to take your plank from your hands and your feet, or you can lower to your knees, hands and knees, or you can lower to your forearms and feet, or forearms and knees. Now, I'm recovering from a broken wrist, so I'm going to be on my forearms for my planks today. Really take into account the sensations that are happening in the body today so that you can accommodate those sensations by changing the shapes that we take, by offering rest into your body whenever you need rest. There's no competition here, no expectations. Good. Now let's lower down to the belly, either from your hands and your knees or your hands and your feet. And as you release your body down, let your forehead rest on the backs of your hands. Take some nice full deep breaths here. Good. Moving in towards our back bends here. So find your forearms down, elbows underneath your shoulders. Press your palms down. Unravel your spine. So sort of think of unraveling that upper back to open up your chest. Sphinx pose, and then notice what's happening with the neck. Can we find a little bit more length, a little bit more space, a little bit more softness? Good. Wonderful. Now you can stay with this, or if you'd like, bend your right knee and pull your right knee up towards your right elbow. So the right knee is bent here with the inner foot down on the ground. Just notice how that feels. Good, and let's release. Again, you can stay here in your Sphinx or bend that left knee, pulling the knee up towards the direction of the elbow. It won't connect with the elbow, but just letting it be out to the side of your hip. Just moving in that direction. Just noticing how that feels. And then slowly release, come back to your Sphinx. Now feel free to stay in your Sphinx with your forearms down, or find your palms beside your ribs and gently lift into a nice low cobra or high cobra, only lifting to that degree that feels good and healthy for your spine today, lengthening the back of your neck. I'm going to stick with Sphinx pose, forearms down. And just take a nice deep breath there to notice how it feels. And nice and slowly, let's lower back down. Let's lift one more time, either with your forearms or your palms down. Sphinx, low cobra, high cobra, or if you'd like, take an upward facing dog. Press the tops of the feet down into the mat and lift the knees. Again, I'm going to stick with Sphinx. So honor the sensations, honor what is useful in your body. And then with an exhale, let's lower down to your belly. Now, if you want your forehead to rest on something soft, you can place your forehead on a soft rolled up pillow or towel. And we'll take our arms into a cactus position beside us with our elbows bent and our palms down. Bending your right knee, pull your right knee up towards the direction of your right elbow. And then turn your head towards the right side. Just let the body melt here. You don't need to overwork this pose. Just let the pose do the magic in your body. Sometimes it can feel like we're doing nothing in certain poses, but there's a lot of stuff going on in the internal body. So just trusting. Good, let's release to switch sides. So bend your left knee, pull your left knee up towards the direction of your elbow. Turn your head towards the left. Let your shoulders fall nice and heavy. Good, nice and slowly. Let's come back through to center. Now from here, push up through to your hands and your knees. And you can lift up and back into downward facing dog, or stay in table, or take your puppy pose. Give yourself as many options as you can as you move through your practice today. So it doesn't always have to look the same. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we necessarily need to. Another deep breath here. And then nice and slowly, if those knees are down, lift your knees, start to tiptoe, walk, or step your feet forward to your hands. Taking your time to get there and allowing yourself lots of space in the backs of the legs to fold nice and heavy. Maybe take a few little gentle rocks from side to side. Good, and then slowly take a deeper bend to your knees. Begin to roll through your spine, allowing yourself to roll up, allowing your head to come up last as we bring ourselves up to stand at the front of our mat in Tadasana, mountain pose. So feel free to keep your feet hip width apart or wider, or glue your big toes together, heels a sliver apart. Just feeling that nice solid grounding through your feet and spread through your toes. As you ground down through your feet, find a nice inhale, sweep the arms up, lengthen through your spine. Settle the shoulders, connect through your palms and bow forward over your legs. From there, find your palms to your shins, reach your heart forward, find a halfway lift. Palms can be at your shins or your thighs, or you can take your hands up on an elevated chair or prop, whatever is useful for you. And then as you exhale, fold back down, root your palms down, step your feet back and find your plank pose. Plank either from your feet, your hands and feet, hands and knees, forearms and feet, or forearms and knees, lengthening through your spine. See if you can lengthen your tailbone a little bit more and really use the mat, so press out of the floor. And lower down to the belly, either from your hands and your knees or your hands and your feet. As you release yourself down, find an inhale to find your back bend. So either with your forearms down, Sphinx pose, or your palms down, lifting your heart forward, finding that space in your chest and your upper back. And then as you exhale, slowly release down, push back up through to hands and knees. Stay on your hands and knees, take puppy pose, or lift your hips into downward facing dog. Take a moment to reflect on the sensations in your body. As you bring your attention there, remind yourself to rest whenever you'd like to rest. This practice is not just about the shapes and the poses we take. So just offering yourself as much time as possible to notice what's happening and to react with compassion. Good. If your knees are down, lift your knees. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of your feet. Bend your knees, tiptoe, walk, step, or hop your feet forward to your hands. Hang nice and heavy over your legs. Take a generous bend to your knees. Roll through your spine. Bring yourself up to stand. Tadasana, mountain pose. With a big inhale, sweep your arms up, lengthen your spine. Connect through your palms. Bow forward over your legs. Finding your palms to your shins, your thighs, or a prop, halfway lift. As you exhale, fold and step your right leg back behind you. Now here, let's lower the right knee down to the mat. Feel free to double up your mat for a little extra padding underneath that right knee, or use a soft pillow or towel. Now, if the floor feels far away from you, it's really, really lovely to have your hands up on a prop. So a couple stacks of books, pillows, or yoga blocks if you have them. Left knee is tracking over your toes. Just take a moment to feel that length in your right hip flexor as you reach your heart forward. Soften through your jaw. Now let's take our hands to the inside of that left leg and heel toe that left foot out just to the degree where you feel a little bit more space for your hip. So I just heel toe that left foot out a little bit wider. And just take a moment to notice how that feels. You might want to take a few little movements. So sometimes some swaying or even some rolling through the hips can feel really nice as we start to settle into this lizard pose. Now you can stay up on your hands, or if you'd like, you can come down to one forearm or both forearms. And again, you can elevate those hands on a prop. Just taking a few nice deep breaths here, letting the hips open up. Good. Now we'll gently ease our way back up. Rooting your right palm down, take your left hand to your right knee. Now, you may skip this. Perfectly okay to skip this. If your knee feels okay, turn to or roll onto the pinky toe side. I'm just going to turn so you can see. Roll to the pinky toe side of that left foot and just gently give that left leg a little push open. So I'm on the pinky toe side of that left foot, gently rotating it open, giving it a little bit of traction with that hand, not too much. We don't want to feel sensation in the knee. We're just allowing a little bit more opening for the hip. So again, feel free to skip it. Even being in that low lunge is enough of an opening for the hip. Good. Now let's come back to center. Line your knee back up with your hip. Tuck your back toes back behind you, lift your back knee, and slowly pivot your back foot flat. Now here, if that floor feels far away from you, bring yourself up to your thigh or hands up on a prop. And as you exhale, just start to think about lowering those hips. Maybe you stay right there, or you continue to rotate that right hip so you're on your right heel with your toes facing up. You may want to stay up a little higher or perhaps lower those hips. If your left heel is lifted, place a soft pillow, towel, or blanket underneath your heel to feel the grounding. It can stay lifted if you feel stable there. It's perfectly fine. Breathe. Just take a moment. Now let's come back through to center. Find that lunge again, and this time turn your left toes towards the left and allow your left hip to open up and turn onto the pinky toe side of your right foot. So I'm on the outer edge of that right leg. Use your hands for balance here. Left knee is turned towards the left side. Just take a moment. And then nice and slowly come back through to center. Reach your heart forward. Now you can keep that back knee lifted or lower that back knee down if that feels better for you today. As you continue to reach your heart forward, maybe you stay with the hands down, or perhaps you come up to that left thigh. Crescent lunge, maybe lift your arms up overhead, lengthening out of your waist. Soften your shoulders as you can continue to create lots of space here. Steady your gaze, soft jaw. Good. Now from here, pivot your back foot flat and find yourself in a warrior two. So allowing your left knee to track over your second toe, and your right leg is really nice and long here. Ribs line up with hips. Take a moment to breathe. Good. Now from here, try to keep that left knee bent. You may want to turn your toes in a little bit. Bend into your right knee and find a goddess pose. So turning that right heel in. If that didn't feel stable for you, you just want to walk the feet in a little bit more narrow so you feel stable in the pose. Hands are at heart center. As you exhale, allow the hips to lower a little bit more. Soft shoulders, steady breath. Come back to warrior two, but try to keep that bend in that left knee. So just working that back leg, and then if you need to adjust by pressing the heel down to adjust the feet. Lengthen out of your waist. Cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot. Pivot onto the ball of your back foot. Lower that back knee down just one more time, reaching your heart forward, allowing those hips to lower. And then we'll tuck our back toes, lift the back knee, take your back foot forward to meet your front foot. And just take a moment and everything falls nice and heavy. Find your halfway lift, palms come to the shins, the thighs, or a prop. Reach that heart forward. As you exhale, step your left leg back behind you. Lowering your left knee down to your mat. Pad that knee up if you'd like. Place your hands on blocks or props, anything that's useful for you. Reaching your heart forward. Now we'll do the same thing on this side. So have anything around you that you think is going to be useful in supporting that movement. Taking your hands to the inside of your right leg, heel toe your right foot out a little bit wider so you have space for the hips. Good, and just notice how that feels. Maybe a little bit of movement, maybe some swaying from side to side or some rolling around through the hips. If you want to stay up on your hands, great. If you'd like to come down to one forearm or both forearms, great. Soften your shoulders. A little bit of heaviness through the hips here. Just sort of preparing the hips for lots of opening today. Just going into the weekend with nice supple hips can feel really good for any activities we're going to do this weekend. All right, let's come on back up. Now from here, you can stay, or again, take your right hand to your right leg, roll to the pinky toe side of that right foot and gently give it a little bit of traction. Don't overdo it. If you feel sensation in the knee, skip it. It's not worth it. Stay with the knee in line with the hip. But again, just like as we took earlier in our practice when we were seated taking those windshield wipers, it can be really useful for the body to move in planes of motion that are not as common for us. Switching things up, right? Let's come back through the center. Beautiful. Now from here, make sure your knee and your hip are in line. Tuck your back toes behind you and lift your back knee. Then pivot your back foot flat as you rotate open towards the left. If that floor feels far away from you, come on up to your thigh or use a chair or a prop and stay right there. If you notice there's some space, maybe you allow the hips to lower and maybe you turn up onto the left heel with your toes facing up towards the ceiling. Feel free to pad up that back heel, that right heel, I should say, if it's lifted, and it can also stay lifted as long as you feel supported and grounded. That's fine. Take a nice deep breath. Good. Now as we ease our way back through to center, tuck your back toes, turn your right toes to face the front and pivot onto the outer edge of that left leg. So your right knee is out to the side and we're on the pinky toe side of that left leg. Let the hips lower, still breathing deeply. Good. And then as you come back through the center, you can lower that back knee down if you'd like. Right knee is tracking over your toes. And you can stay right there or come up to that right thigh. Start to think of lifting out of the pose a little bit more, creating space. Maybe reach those arms up towards the ceiling. Soften your shoulders, grounding down through your feet. Steady your gaze. Good. Let's pivot our back foot flat and land ourselves in warrior two with your front heel lined up with your back arch. Right knee is tracking over your toes, and we're nice and long through the pinky toe side of that left foot. Gaze is past the front fingertips. Now again, we're going to move into goddess pose, but see if you can keep that bend in your right knee as we transition. So shifting into your left knee, so bend into that left knee as you allow the hips to lower to the degree that feels comfortable. And make sure those knees are tracking over your toes. So use your heels to anchor down and shift by moving through the front of your foot or the ball of your foot. So heels are really supporting any movement that needs to happen. Let's come back to warrior two. Try to keep that front knee bent as you lengthen that back leg and open back up. Breathe. Now cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot. Pivot onto the ball of the back foot and lower that back knee down. Take a moment to create lots of length and space here. And then tucking those back toes, lifting the back knee. Take your back foot forward to meet your front foot. Hang heavy. Find your palms to your shins, lengthen your spine. As you exhale, fold, step your right leg back behind you, warrior two. So right leg reaches back nice and long as we lift our torso up. Ribs line up with hips. Good. Front heel lines up with back arch. Grounding down through your legs, soften your shoulders. Goddess pose. Try to keep that front knee bent. As you open up, knees tracking over toes, use your heels and adjust your feet to accommodate. Good. Warrior two to the back of your mat. So lengthen your left leg, right leg stays bent. Let's move back and forth. Goddess pose. Come through center. Warrior two to the front of your mat. Open up, trying to stay nice and low through the legs. Goddess pose. Come through center. Open up, warrior two to the back. One more time, come through center, find your goddess. Open up, warrior two towards the back or towards the front. Cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot. Walk your hands to the inside of that right leg. Walk through center. Legs are nice and wide with the big toe slightly pigeon-toed in. Then walk towards your right foot. Turn your right toes to face the back of your mat. Warrior two to face the back of your mat. Lift your left arm up and back. Same thing. Cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot. Walk the hands towards center. Walk through center. Warrior two towards the front of the mat. Left toes face forward. Lifting up. Beautiful. Now this time, cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot, pivot onto the ball of your back foot, and step your back foot forward to meet your front foot. Take some time, anchor into your breath. Now let's step that left leg back behind us, warrior two. So nice long reach back. Use your left arm to lift you up through center, warrior two. Heel to arch alignment. Lots of strength through the legs. Try to keep that right knee bent. Goddess pose. Come through center. Allow the hips to lower. Make sure your knees feel safe. Warrior two to face the back of your mat. Lengthen the right leg. Left knee is bent. Back and forth here. Come back through to goddess. Try to stay low in the legs. Open to warrior two towards the front of the mat. Come back through to your goddess pose. Open warrior two towards the back of the mat. One more time, come through to your goddess pose. Open the warrior two to the front. This time, cartwheel your hands down to meet your front foot. Walk your hands towards the inside of your right leg. Walk through center. Nice wide-legged forward fold. Feel that length in the back of your legs. Walk your hands towards your left toes. Left toes face the back of your mat. Use your right arm to lift you into warrior two. Good. Now, same thing. Release your hands down. Bring your hands to the inside of that right leg. Walk through center. Walk towards your right toes. Turn the right toes to face the front of the mat. Open up into your warrior two. And then one more time, come down. Walk through center. Warrior two to face the back of your mat. Coming back down. Walk through center. Warrior 2 to face the front of your mat. Cartwheel your hands down, pivot onto the ball of your back foot. Step your back foot forward to meet your front foot. Hang heavy. Release your head, steady your breath. Roll through your spine, bring yourself up to stand. Allow your head to come up last. Anchor yourself through your feet. Steady your gaze. Start to shift your weight into your left foot. Hands come to heart center. Play with the idea of lifting your right foot up. Allow that right foot to touch down at any point. Stay with this or rotate your right hip open for a variation of tree pose. Kickstanding or coming to your calf, or if you'd like, come on up to the thigh. Keep that steady gaze. Feel free to hold on to a wall or a chair. If you'd like, maybe lift your arms up. Come in and out of it. Anything that happens is just a reaction from your body. It doesn't mean you're good or bad. It's just a reaction. Good, let's come through center. Release your right foot down. Shift your weight into your right foot. Lighten up on your left foot. Stay with that. Let your left foot touch down at any point, or you can kickstand or come to your calf or come up to your thigh. Wherever you'd like to be, if you want to lift those arms up, go right ahead. Settle the shoulders, soften the gaze. Release any expectations. Good, with an exhale, slowly lower back down. Plant your feet down. Release your arms. Drop your head. Drop your shoulders. Roll through your spine. Let everything hang down nice and heavy. Good. Lowering towards the direction here of Malasana pose, or you can take a squat if you prefer. So just play with the idea of bending the knees. You may want to stay right here, staying up a little higher, or turn your toes out and your heels in and maybe lower a little bit more. If you want to sit on something, sit on something. So same thing that we took at the very beginning of our practice together today, just getting there a little differently. So if you're comfortable, you can allow your hips to lower here in Malasana. And again, if coming down is not right, take your feet wider, bend your knees, hands can be up on a prop. This is enough, this is beautiful. And just take a breath here. Again, if the heels are lifted, you can roll up a towel or a couple pillows underneath your heels. And when you're ready, come down to your back. So come down with care. You may want to use something to support you, or take your hands behind you. Lower your hips down. Ease your way down to your back. And once you're there, hug your knees into your chest. Give your knees a good little squeeze. I was teaching a kids yoga class last night, and one of the kids decided that this pose was gerbil pose, which I thought was pretty cute. It's a cute little image. Curl yourself up into a nice little gerbil. All right, let's release the feet down with your knees up towards the ceiling, planting your feet down for bridge pose. Your feet can be further away from you. Your feet can be closer to you. Your feet can be wider or more narrow. Just like in our Malasana, you'll need to find the alignment to support what's happening in your knees today. So you can adjust once we enter the pose, or adjust right now. Palms down. Tilt your hip points towards the ribs, roll through your spine, and lift your hips up into bridge. If you notice if there's pressure in the fronts of your knees, you'll lower down and adjust your stance. And take some nice deep breaths here. Soften through your jaw. Shoulders fall heavy. And exhale, slowly lower down. Take a moment. Lift one more time here. So when you're ready, tilt your hip points towards the ribs, roll through your spine, lifting up. You can keep your palms down beside you or plant your elbows down with your fingertips up or interlace your fingers behind your back, tucking up onto your shoulders, or you can reach your arms up overhead, wherever you'd like to be. Just finding that space. With an exhale, slowly roll through your spine, release your hips down. Give your hips a little shake. Hug your knees into your chest. Right hand on your right knee, left hand on your left knee. Draw a few circles with your knees. Feeling your way through your hips, switch directions. Good. Now we'll just take a moment here. We're going to slowly transition into a frog pose, which may or may not be available for your body. So a beautiful option, if as we take the pose is not feeling right, is to come back here onto your back. Bend your knees, take your right hand on your right knee, left hand on your left knee, and allow the knees to drop open. So we'll all take that right here. With your right hand on your right knee, left hand on the left knee, allowing those knees to drop open, and just play with the idea of your knees and ankles being in line, so the shins are parallel as opposed to in towards the body. Just allow them to open to that degree where they're working towards the idea of being parallel. And you can use your hands for a little bit of traction to open up through those hips. Beautiful. Let's come back through to center. Take any movements you need to take. And then we'll bring ourselves up to sit to prepare for our frog pose. So gently roll forward and back on your spine, or roll over to the side to come up. And come on up. Now you may want to use blankets or pillows. 2 blankets or 2 pillows is really great. Or you can use the sides of your yoga mat. And I'll demonstrate in just a quick moment. Let's come into a cobbler's pose before we move into our frog. So soles of the feet together, knees open to the side. Feet can be closer to or further away from your body. Fingertips behind you here as you lift up. And feel free to stay right there or take your hands to your feet and gently tilt your torso forward. I like to give my thighs a little bit of traction through my elbows. Just feeling the hips open up. Create space in the front of the body and the back of the body as you lengthen your tailbone. And just notice how that feels today. Good. Let's slowly come up. So we have options. You can come onto your back and take your frog from your back, same pose. You could also choose to come back into cobbler's pose and stay here, maybe even taking your legs a little further forward, or a little bit more of a restorative version. Or if you'd like, we'll come into frog. So what I like to do is I like to roll up the edges of the mat for a little extra padding underneath the knees. So you can do so, or you can use pillows or towels. And then taking the knees to the sides of your yoga mat, allowing the hips to lower. And again, just like we did on our backs, the knees and the ankles are working towards being in line. Now you can stay upright here. Pull the belly in so that low back is supported. You can have your hands up on something. Or if you notice it's available, you can come forward a little bit onto your elbows as you allow those hips to open up. I'm just going to turn to the side so you can see. So find that variation that feels good. Again, if it's not available for you, take one of those other variations. I often like to place my knees on sweaters or towels or pillow or something soft if you're on a hard floor. Come to the side, knees and ankles are in line. And as you enter the pose, when the hips, and if the hips slowly start to open up, the legs will just slide open a little bit more. So you can really surrender into the pose there. Just wherever you are, whichever variation you're in, finding some nice deep breaths. And I just want to quickly demonstrate what could happen with the torso here as well. So let me see if I can show. As you're coming forward, just watching that we don't bow forward into the spine. I want us to actively lift from the low belly so our low back is really supported. And for some of us, we may be a little bit further forward. For others, we may be a little bit further back, depending on where we feel the sensation is the most useful. But again, try to keep the spine supported. So whichever variation you are in, we're not getting lower down in the hips if we send our belly towards the ground. We want to keep that nice lift. Again, some nice, deep, full breaths. Good. Now, if you're in frog pose, we're going to come out by bringing the torso forward. I know it might be a little bit awkward, but we'll just kind of wiggle our way out. And just give your hips a little shake as you come up. In any other variation of a pose, you can slowly bring yourself up. And we'll bring ourselves up to sit again, sitting up really nice and tall. As you take your legs forward, give them a little shake out. Notice how you feel. And then we'll bend our right knee into our chest, only to that degree that's available. Right hand comes behind you. Give that right knee a good little squeeze, or hook your elbow to the outside of that right knee and slowly start to rotate, finding a nice little spinal twist there. You can take some movements with your head, your neck, if you're holding tension. Come through center, take the other side, extend your right leg, bend your left knee, pull it in. Left fingertips behind you, find that rotation, either hug your knee or hook your elbow. And just like in that twist we took when we started our practice, long, full inhale to lift you up to energize the body, and then softness in your exhale to soften into the twist. So we're not forcing the twist. The energy is in the inhale and the forward up motion. Good, let's come out and give your legs a little shake out. Ease your way down to your back here. So let's come on down to our backs. Take your time to get there. Hug your knees into your chest. Again, a little gerbil, hugging those knees in, a few little rocks from side to side. Notice the sensations in the body. Let your spine fall heavy. Take your feet down, arms open to the side. Drop your knees to the right as the hips shift to the left. Feel free to keep your knees stacked here or cross your top knee over your bottom knee. Feel free to place soft pillows, towels, or blankets underneath arms or knees. Wherever you need a little extra padding, take it. We're working towards the idea of release, of surrender here, so let that reflect in your breath. Softness, no need to control the breath, just let it be. Ease your way back to center to shift to the other side. So shifting the hips to the right as the knees drop to the left. Keep the knees stacked or cross your top knee over your bottom knee. Support yourself with any props. Feeling a heaviness through your body as you release down. Beautiful. Gently come back to center and prepare yourself for your final posture, Shavasana. So if there are any socks or sweaters you'd like to put on, go ahead. Any sips of water or final movements you'd like to take, feel free. And then find yourself in the most comfortable position for your body to rest in today. Emphasize rest. So perhaps a corpse pose, legs extended, arms extended, eyes closed. Or Supta Baddha Konasana, taking the soles of the feet together, knees open to the side. Or take the soles of your feet to the outside of your yoga mat as you allow your knees to fall in at center. Feel free to lie on your side or your belly. You can again support yourself with any soft pillows, blankets. And if you're comfortable, you can allow the eyes to softly close. Otherwise, soften your gaze. Tuning into the sensations that are present in your body, allowing whatever is there. You don't have to control it. You don't have to be a certain way. Relaxing your toes and your feet, your legs and your hips, your belly and your chest, your shoulders and your arms, your hands and your fingers. Releasing some tension in your neck, your jaw, the space between your eyebrows, your forehead, and rest. And slowly begin to bring a greater awareness to your body, into the space around you. And perhaps invite your breath to deepen, or invite a little bit of movement back to your body, maybe wiggling fingers, toes, perhaps taking a stretch, reaching the limbs long, maybe even finding a yawn. And from there, gently ease your way up to a nice comfortable seated position. And we will end our practice together today. So finding yourself seated nice and tall, create lots of space. Allow your hands to rest where they feel best, maybe beside you, perhaps on your body, maybe one hand to heart, one hand to belly, maybe hands at heart center. Take a moment to bow the head. Notice the sensations in the body. Allow. And thank yourself for taking the time to practice today. And I thank you for sharing your practice with me. Stay well. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. It was lovely to be with you, as always. Happy Friday. I hope you have a lovely weekend. You can always let me know if you have any questions or sharings. Otherwise, I look forward to practicing with you again, maybe next Friday or next Wednesday, same time, same place.